Okay, so raise your hand if you love fried chicken. Okay, great. You're my kind of people. Okay. So we have the fried chicken lovers. Do we have any fried chicken likers here? Any people that kind of like fried chicken? Okay. Oh, okay, one. Okay, I see you. Well, for all my fried chicken lovers, and even my fried chicken lover, I have a fun fact for you. Did you know that my country of Trinidad and Tobago have one of the highest market penetration of KFC in the world? Yes, in the world. So, how did a country of 1.2 million persons make it big on the global stage? Well, I'll tell you. 2 letters, 1 word, me. So this is me at the age of 6. And fun fact, I had a minor KFC addiction. And by minor, I mean major. I loved KFC. And from time to time, my mother will indulge me, again, very occasionally. But it was at one of those times that my life absolutely changed. So imagine this. We're fresh on the KFC line, the sun is bright, the sky is blue, and my KFC smells amazing. That is, until she stops me. She physically stops me. As she slowly but surely reaches down to take the KFC. Not just any KFC, my KFC. And it's as if time itself comes to a stop. As she takes my KFC and gives it to a homeless man. Now, I was completely furious, absolutely enraged, because this was my KFC. But noticing, my mother said something I would never forget. She said, Bernice, you are going home to eat. This person, this man, he does not know where his next meal is coming from. And of course, that does nothing to calm me down because I'm 6 and I'm hungry. But since then, I've eaten more than just KFC. I have led 16 days of activism campaigns against gender-based violence, empowering over 300 persons in my islands on gender-sensitive training. I have also represented the Caribbean on global stages in Poland, South Africa, Morocco, Brazil. And I've even spent 2 months living with monks in rural India, developing composting bins and learning about sustainable waste management. So you may ask, Bernice, how are all of these seemingly unrelated, unconnected events connected? And I'm glad you asked, because you see, when my mother took that KFC bucket from me, she gave me something else in return. She gave me 3 seeds. A seed of generosity, a seed of joy, and a seed of love. A seed of generosity. It was a generous thing to do, right? To give my KFC to a homeless man. But what you did not see was the unique constraints that she faced. A crying child, the fact that she would have to go home and cook, despite just having spent money on KFC. In that moment, my mother taught me something critical. She taught me about the power of generosity. She taught me that we must recognize our constraints, yes, but we must give in light of them. She taught me that we must not limit our generosity to our circumstance. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, how many times do we say, I'll give when, or I'll give if? I challenge you to give regardless of. A seed of generosity. A seed of joy. I'm sure the homeless man was quite happy to get my KFC. But it wasn't until 15 years later till I realized that there was joy in it for me. You see, when my mother took that KFC bucket from me, she did something. She dug deep into her internal compass and was able to differentiate between right and wrong, right and good. And so in that moment, she taught me something important. She taught me about the importance of digging deep, of looking into my internal compass and understanding the difference between right and wrong, between good and bad. She taught me that true joy, is shared. And so, ladies and gentlemen, how many times do we engage in one-sided joy? How many times do we sacrifice to greater good for our greater comforts? A seed of joy. A seed of love. My mother said something important. She said, this person. She said, this man. The way she was able to grapple and reckon with the human dignity of another person, to see past his status, to see past his appearance. She looked into the eyes of a homeless man and she saw herself. And so, my mother taught me something critical about love. She taught me that every single person on this planet has room to look past their appearance and to look past their status. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, how many times do we look into the eyes of a homeless man and we see ourselves? How many times do we look into the eyes of a drug addict and we see ourselves? How many times do we look into the eyes of someone suffering in silence and we see ourselves? Ladies and gentlemen, let us see ourselves. A seed of generosity, a seed of joy, a seed of love. And with these seeds, I've been able to discern and flourish, to develop my own framework for how I live, how I lead, and how I love. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, from my box of KFC to my mother's 3 seeds, my 3-step process for radical inclusivity. Step 1, ask, who is being left out? Step 2, ask, why? And step 3, ask, what should we do? This is meant to be applied to problems. So let's talk about problems. I mentioned homelessness. I mentioned drug addiction. Then let's talk about a problem that faces all of us. Climate change. Step 1, who is left out? And ladies and gentlemen, the truth is the persons at the margins. Think about the person who drove you here today in a taxi. Think about the person who caught that fish you ate. Think about the person who grew that tomato. Think about mothers with 7 children, or mothers with 8 children, like my grandmother. Think about the persons who stand to lose the most in the climate change movement, yet they are not at the forefront of the movement. Why? They suffer the most, yet they are not at the front lines. Why? And so, we must ask ourselves, why? Well, time poverty, actual poverty, colonization, the list goes on. But what we do know is that this marginalization has gone on for far too long. And it's time that we do something about it. So let's do something about it. What should we do? Is a question I ask myself. And truthfully, the answer is simple. We need to make sustainability accessible. from the margins and put them at the forefront of the movement. These persons suffer the most and they deserve to be at the forefront of the movement. To do that, we need to be able to help them contribute tangibly, something that they touch every single day, something they have access to. Ladies and gentlemen, the answer is food. We know that when our food ends up in landfills, it contributes to methane, a greenhouse gas 18 times more powerful than carbon dioxide. And so by reducing our food waste, we're able to reduce our negative impact on the climate. So, let's ask ourselves, how can we reduce our food waste? How can we make food reduction accessible for every single one? And that's the answer I set out to answer. And my answer was Planet Plates. Because you see, I wanted to ensure that every single person could save the planet straight from their plates. And here's how it works. You upload your grocery receipts and you get 3 things. You get 1, custom reminders for when your food is about to expire. So, for anyone who has a bag of tomatoes sitting at the back of the fridge, or a bag of lettuce, or a bag of insert here. Yeah, this one is for you. We also have information on custom advice on how to store your food properly to extend the shelf life of your food. And we have recipes based on ingredients that are actually in your fridge. So no more fumbling and bumbling, oh, I know I have this ingredient, but I don't know where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is accessibility. This is about pulling persons into the climate change movement. And it's not just about Planet Plates. It's about making sustainability accessible, no matter the solution. And to make it accessible, we must have the 3 C's. A seed, generosity, which is why Planet Plates will forever and for always be free. A seed of joy, so you get a healthy, delicious meal, but you also feel good about reducing your food waste. A seed of love. We want persons to want themselves to be in the climate change movement. And it's all well and good to talk about a solution, but let's talk about a solution in the life of a real person. Let's consider a mother. She's up at 4 a.m., rushing to prepare the household, so that by 6 a.m. she's rushing everybody else to get out the door from work or for school. She's the first in the office to get to eat breakfast and barely eats lunch. That means she's home by 7 p.m. That gives her 3 hours to prepare for de-stress, prepare dinner, and then prepare for bed. She has option A, which is to rumble and fumble through the cabinets, or option B, use Planet Plates to develop a meal that will optimize her ingredients such that she's not wasting any food. I think, in my humble opinion, I may prefer Planet option B. But again, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about Planet Plates. It's about making sustainability accessible. It's about the 3 C's: generosity, joy, and love. And to imagine, all of this started with a box of KFC. That box of KFC was truly a metamorphosizing moment. And so, to 6-year-old Bernice, I would say, Bernice, at KFC, it wasn't just lunch, it was legacy. It taught me that service without sacrifice is meaningless. And that success that is not shared is not successful. And so, to my audience, I ask you to ask yourself, 1, who is being left out? 2, why? And 3, what should we do? What could we do? What must we do? Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.